It's neither the strongest of the species that survive nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change.
The game that you're playing is not success. The game that you're playing is not money. The game that you're playing is brain chemistry. It's about fulfillment. The only path to excellence is to truly become an expert. The only path to excellence is to actually get good at something.
Need motivation? Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Top 10, I got a top 10. Got my motivation high for my top 10. Gotta learn from the wise women and men. All my life, like 9 for my top 10, top 10, 9. This one's for my top 10.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Tom Bilyeu, and my take on his top 10 rules for success. Enjoy. Okay, let's kick it off with rule number 1. Create your own reality.
Your mind begins to lay down patterns over time. Neurons that fire together, wire together. So if you, let's say you want to do public speaking, and you get nervous every time you're about to public speak, then you begin to develop this Pavlovian response of anxiety as you go to speak. But you could interrupt that pattern. You could find ways, whether it's taking a much more confident posture, which there's all kinds of amazing research on how just your posture, changing your posture, creates a different internal reality. Going back to you're creating the state that you're in. If you're sitting like this and you're allowing your face to take on this really droopy, sad posture, it's very different. What you feel is very different than if you take an open, confident posture. If you hold your face in a very optimistic, upbeat, I dare you, try to be really pissed off and laugh out loud. It just doesn't work. Understanding that all of that stuff is intentionality at play. It's you choosing what you think. It's you choosing what you believe. It's you choosing what you feel. And all of that stuff has a material impact on the world around you. Take meditation. I eschewed meditation for years. I thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. I tried it, didn't make any sense to me until someone explained what I was really doing was gaining control over my autonomic nervous system. Because right now, so much of your life happens in the subconscious. The vast majority of the data that your brain processes is done subconscious. In fact, the conscious mind is the last person to know. If you guys have seen David Eagleman and what he talks about, how there's all this neurological activity going on, things that are known, things that are discarded, things that are moved towards, and the last person to know about it is your conscious mind. Despite the fact that he's going to take credit for all of it, your conscious mind is actually the last to know. So being able to take control of the autonomic nervous system is so powerful. It's going to allow you to center yourself before giving a speech. It's going to allow you to calm yourself before taking a test. It's going to allow you to perform at a higher level. Take the Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs teach breathing exercises. The Navy SEALs teach meditative practices, because when you get into a combat situation and things are flying and moving really fast and it is literally a life or death situation, you've got to learn to calm your autonomic nervous system. And if you can't do that, if you can't lower your rate of breathing, if you can't calm your heart rate, if you can't push the blood back into your prefrontal cortex so that you can make the right decisions and quickly, you're screwed. So learning that this is all intention, learning that your brain is housed in a shell and it never sees the light of day, it never actually encounters sound. It encounters electrical and chemical signals, and from that it paints the best version of reality that it can. But it isn't the total reality, and it isn't objective. Once you accept that, once you get that there's even a crack in that door of subjectivity and that you can control that subjectivity, then all of a sudden your beliefs become things to control and manipulate, to move and construct around something that serves you. List the beliefs that you have about yourself and put them in two different sides. On one side, I want you to list the things that empower you and move you forward. On the other side, I want you to list the things that demotivate or demean you and move you away from your goals. And then I want you to look at the balance. My guess is most of you have more beliefs about yourself that are detrimental, that make you less of who you are, than you have on the positive side of things that make you bigger, that make you more confident, that give you the courage and the audacity to move forward. Once you realize both of those are fake, both of those are merely a representation that your mind has chosen to give you, and they're not objectively true, then you can realize, hey, I can change these. I can choose to believe things that empower me. I can choose to ignore things that move me backwards or change them. But it's all a construct. Get control of your mind. It's so powerful. In fact, the most powerful form of mind control is control over one's own mind.
Rule number 2, occasionally check yourself.
You are, first of all, never going to be right all the time, yet you have to move forward as if you are right. You have to come to a conclusion about what is the most sure path to your goal and be marching down that path. This is advanced class. But you also have to be able to go, am I right? So at the same time, you're racing forward as fast as you can. You've got to occasionally check yourself and say, is this actually working? Is there data that I can look at? What empirical evidence do I have that I'm actually going in the right direction? Now, you want to know where I spend the vast majority of my time? It's in that. If I'm not actively executing, and even sometimes when I am actively executing, I'm doing these little checks. What's the data? What data points can I look at? So not like it feels right, not I want to do it. Is there data that I can look at that tells me I'm either going in the right direction or I'm not? So I have that feeling all the time. I'm trying actively to delude myself, since the people that are most delusional are the happiest. I'm trying to delude myself to make sure that I'm going and going with enthusiasm. I'm trying to delude myself that despite the fact that I know next to nothing of what I'm going to ultimately need to know in order to succeed, that I keep going. That is fundamental and critical. And then, whilst I'm deluding myself, I'm checking to make sure that that delusion never gets out of hand, that I'm still grounded in reality, that I'm still checking myself against data. And all of those things are going to be what allow you to keep this from spilling over into something that's counterproductive, because there is a level of delusion that's useful, and then there's a level of delusion that is, it's going to break you down, it's going to take you in the wrong direction. So you've really got to check yourself against that. Now, getting good at that is not easy, but leaning on data. What is the external world telling you? And not being afraid to see that the external world is telling you that you're going in the wrong direction, and then being able to pivot.
Rule number 3, tap into social.
I own a nutrition company, but I am not a thought leader. I'm an influencer. I have a thought leader that I trust, that I listen to, happens to be my business partner. But I'm the one that then translates that for the masses. So when you're trying to build a community, the person you're looking for, at the top, you want to make sure the thought leaders believe in your product. So you're going to send it to them. You're going to explain it to them. You're going to make sure that your product is real, because they will smell BS a mile away. Now, if they're into it, and then you go after the influencers, who will then ask the thought leaders what they think. Thought leaders will give it the green light. The influencers then will begin telling the masses. Influencers in my world are people with six-pack abs. They're the guy at the gym. They're the girl at the beach in the bikini. People that other people walk up to and say, whoa, what did you do to get in such great shape? And we wanted to make sure their answer was, I ate a Quest bar. And that was how we grew the business. And we wrote individualized letters to a bunch of influencers and a bunch of thought leaders saying, hey, we know who you are, which, by the way, we were very sincere. It was all real. We know who you are. We think this product brings value to you and the people that follow you, and we just want you to talk about it. If you hate it, tell people you hate it, and if you love it, tell them you love it. All right, you want to find your 1,000 screaming fans. The 1,000 screaming fans are those influencers that are going to get attention for you. Identifying them, most people think of these people as getting to your 1,000 screaming fans for you. But what they should be thinking about is this. Now, I'm sure most of you knew the people in the previous slide, and I'm sure most of you don't know any of the people in this slide. But this woman here, anybody know who Jenna Marbles is? Show of hands. I hear a couple of yeses. There we go. All right, Jenna Marbles has a daily reach of 20 million people. That's bigger than the biggest show on TV. That's crazy. This is the world of social. It seems hidden to most people over 35, but it is in plain sight. These are the people that you're going to be going after. Jenna Marbles, we sent her dogs' sweatshirts. and a whole stack of our product. Now, why did we send her dog sweatshirts? Because her dogs are little chihuahuas, they're skinny as hell, and they always look cold. So we had some custom-made sweatshirts sent to her. She loved them so much, she started promoting the bars and showing people what we had sent her and thanking us. Now, no money exchanged hands. It was just us doing something that she would think was cool, that her followers would think was cool, and we got to tap into that reach. That's the power of social. I won't belabor these points. Social is still, despite what you may think, largely free. It's real-time connection, raw feedback. Think 30 years ago how much you would have paid for real-time feedback from your actual customers, written right to you, telling you if they think you're amazing or a jerk or whatever they may think. It's absolutely incredible, and they want you to respond and win them back over. It is amazing. It lets you test things rapidly, which is amazing, and it lets you build a community very rapidly.
Rule number 4, create value.
In connecting to something other than the money, I was finally able to really see and understand what it was that motivated me. And I confessed to them that money was not my highest priority in business. My highest priority was camaraderie. I wanted to connect. I wanted to bring something of value to the customer. I wanted to think about the customer. I wanted to be myself. And I wanted to market in a way that was inclusive and created a community. And in that community, we could do something more than just sell products. And so we decided to sell that company because they felt the same. And they wanted to do something based on passion. They wanted to have the energy and excitement to see things through. And for 3 very different reasons, we decided to form Quest Nutrition. Now, as I mentioned, I grew up in a morbidly obese family. So for me, I was never going to chase money again. And I told them that. I was only going to focus on value creation. And it had to be something that I had a deep and personal connection to. So for me, I started thinking every day about saving my mom and my sister. My mom and my sister are both morbidly obese and have been essentially my entire life. And I knew that I was going to lose them too soon if I couldn't solve the problem of how they ended up there. I wanted to give them food that they could choose based on taste, and it happened to be good for them.
All right, what is up, everybody? I want to talk to you about my good friend Evan Carmichael's book right here, Built to Serve. I'm actually going to read you a section. There are some amazing parts of this book, and this is one of my favorite. It's under the title, Comfort is the Enemy of Greatness. And it goes, when you're comfortable, you don't get strong. When you have plenty of fresh air and no adversity, you crumble as soon as something gets hard. It's rarely the kids of rich parents who go on to do great things, even though they have all the advantages that money, connections, and education can buy. Why is that? Because they're too comfortable. People who are comfortable don't create great things. There it is. Evan Carmichael bringing the heat in his book, Built to Serve. Get a copy.
Rule number 5, desire to change.
The only thing that would get me out of bed, 15 years before I'm capable of building a billion-dollar company, the only thing that got me out of bed was shame. So you have to understand that people had not misidentified me. This is not a story of someone who was born extraordinary. People just couldn't see it, that I was secretly this amazing person who was just waiting for their opportunity to shine. This was somebody who was lazy as had no idea what they were going to do with their life. I had no idea how I was going to pull it off. I was absolutely terrified. Every time I looked in the mirror, I saw me staring back, and I knew how lazy I was. I knew how afraid I was. I knew how insecure I was. I knew that at my core, I wanted people to like me, and I was terrified that they had every reason in the world not to like me. But instead of becoming someone who was worthy of self-respect, who was worthy of their respect, all I was trying to do was campaign. I was trying to posture. I was trying to create the illusion that I was something because that seemed like I could do it fast instead of just buckling down and doing the hard-ass work of becoming somebody new. Because I had one failed misunderstanding. I believed that my talent and intelligence were fixed traits. I was born a certain way, and life was about making the most of what I'd been born with. What I did not yet understand is the reason humans are the ultimate apex predator, the reason that we have taken over the globe in a way that no other species has, is because we are the ultimate adaptation machine. Darwin is often misquoted as saying it's the strongest of the species that survive. He did not say that. What he said was it's neither the strongest of the species that survive nor the most intelligent, but rather the most adaptive to change.
Rule number 6, be strategic.
Getting good at being strategic. And this is why I'm always reading business books, I'm always reading about the mind, and I'm always trying to learn about what industry I'm going into. So right now, boys and girls, I am enmeshed in the world of comics. And I'm trying to ask and answer some very fundamental questions about why the industry is so broken. So first of all, you have to understand it well enough to see that it is broken. Then second, you've got to understand it well enough that you can actually figure out what are the real answers to this. So diving in, reading what you can, finding out who are the influencers in that space, who are the real thought leaders, who's got insight into this that's going to be incredibly usable. Once you have that, then you begin compiling your own worldview of that thing. But you've got to practice that. You've got to get, and I really stopped midstream there. There's a whole universe of shit that goes around how you get good at being strategic and breaking things down.
Rule number 7, do what serves you.
You need something else that's going to get you off the hook, and it has to be that core belief system in your life. A belief system that you put in place when you were emotionally sober, and you said to yourself, I'm making a pledge. I do and believe that which moves me towards my goals, period. Not when it's convenient, always. And that becomes the guiding light in my life. If the guiding light in your life is that you only do and believe that which moves you towards your goals, when you get into that loop of beating yourself up and thinking that you're worthless or that you're never going to make it, remember that. That belief does not serve you. And you don't do things that don't serve you. And not to rat anybody out, but do you know how many people just today have broke down in tears in front of me? And the punchline is always the same. They don't think they're going to make it. They become convinced they're more lost than other people. They're less capable than other people. That while other people are going to have these beautiful lives, not them. Here's the irony. Everyone feels that way. Everyone goes through moments of doubt and despair. So you need something to protect your mindset against that loop because it will chip away at you. And the belief is very simple. You don't do things that don't serve you.
Rule number 8, cultivate the fire.
The first thing you need to do, whenever somebody wants something, they know what they want. They've got a clear goal, they're prepared to do the work, but they just find there's pretty radical inconsistencies as they're trying to move along that path to really get something going. Number one is that you need to really get amped up about why that goal matters to you. Because once you know why the goal matters, that's going to be that thing that gives you meaning and purpose, that turns into a passion, that allows you to show up and keep doing it when you're bored. Because boredom kills more dreams than failure. I just promise you. You just get to the point where it's such a grind and you've got to do it day after day, month after month, year after year. It's just like it really drags on. It's like that old Outkast song, forever, forever, ever, forever, ever. It's like it's easy to do something once, maybe you can do it for a week, but when you have to just keep at the grind, then you really have to have a strong why. So figuring out why is it that you care enough about this? Because by the way, if you don't care enough about it to do all this, go find something that you do care enough about to go after. Because you can do anything you want in life, just not everything. Now, if you're as angered by that notion as I am, you realize whatever it is you're going to give yourself over to and do all the way, it needs to be something that you are really on fire about. Now, getting on fire about something, you're not born with that. You cultivate that fire. So you're going to pick something, starts as an interest. You're going to pick it, engage with it, fan the flames of that fire by talking about it to yourself, to your friends, to your family, to anybody who will listen about why it matters to you. And then you go hard on that. So like for me, I'm trying to build the next Disney. But why? Why am I trying to build the next Disney? Because I've worked with so many people in the inner cities that were extraordinary, far smarter than I am, and they're doing nothing with their life. Why? Because they don't have the right frame of reference. Their mindset is so limited that even though they have all of this natural skill that they could build upon and turn into something absolutely extraordinary, they're not doing it because they're not thinking about themselves and the world in the right way. Okay, I'm not prepared to live in that world. Right now in America, the #1 predictor of your future success is your zip code. Okay, I want to introduce you to a word, maybe you know it, maybe you don't, called an animus. Something that pisses you off enough that it animates you to take action. Now you want to find something, a spark of something, and really turn that into this raging inferno of I am not prepared to live in a world where that's true. And now I'm going to show up every day and I'm going to fight. Make sure you focus it, get it specific to a person. Don't let it be abstract. Who's someone you know and love that's struggling with that thing that you want to put an end to? Do you have a mom that's struggling with depression, a brother that has massive anxiety, whatever the case may be? There's something out there that animates you, that you want to fix, and you attach that to a person that you love and care for. Why? So that on a Friday at 2 a.m. when you're exhausted and you're bored and you know you need to show up and have the discipline to see this through, you don't want to be thinking in the abstract. You want to be thinking very concretely about a person who is struggling with that thing, and then you can fight for them. I always said at Quest, I was trying to end metabolic disease because my mom and my sister were morbidly obese, and I didn't want them to die. So at Friday on at 2 a.m., I wasn't showing up thinking about protein bars. I showed up thinking about them. And suddenly when you're fighting for somebody like that and it's personal, you'll have the energy that you need to see it through.
Rule number 9, acquire utility skills.
I believe the very meaning of life is to find out how many skills you can acquire that have utility and then put that utility to the test in service of someone else. It's what the ancient Greeks called techne. I've worked my ass off for this set of skills. They are unique to me, and they help other people. And in being able to help other people was something that I worked very hard for. I feel good about myself. And I will make you guys one promise right here today. The game you're playing, please listen to this, so that you don't end up wasting years of your life like I did mine. The game that you're playing is not success. The game that you're playing is not money. The game that you're playing is brain chemistry. It's about fulfillment. The only thing ultimately that's ever going to matter in your life is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself.
And rule number 10, the last one before a very special bonus clip, is become an expert.
My father-in-law once gave me this advice. He was the first person I met that had really been successful, and he said, what you want to do is know more about any situation than anyone else in the world. And I actually remember what I said to him. I said, yeah, my boss doesn't really think like that. I have since apologized to my father-in-law for giving me such an amazing piece of information and me doing nothing with it for like 6 years. But once I understood that the only path to excellence is to truly become an expert. The only path to excellence is to actually get good at something. These days, in a hyper-connected world where within minutes of an interaction with you, your product, whatever, someone can have a global audience and tell people what they think, that product better be awesome. But the great news is, the world's been democratized now. You no longer have to have a $150 million ad budget in order to cut through the clutter. In our first 8 months, we were profitable at month 6. In our first 8 months, we didn't invest more than $10,000 because we had a product that actually delivered value. Our marketing message delivered value. And if you focus on that, if you focus on making something that's better than what other people are doing, now you really can cut through the noise very, very quickly. And you gotta grind, baby, grind. That was me for almost 2 years. People see where the company's gotten, they see me up giving speeches, but what they don't see is that in the middle of the night, my hands used to wake me up cramping closed. Because all day, I was making protein bars. And in the very beginning, we were running the technology company during the day and then going and making protein bars by hand at night with rolling pins and handheld blades that we cut the bars and then wrapped them 3 at a time. We wrapped them 3 at a time. We would make 1,200 bars. I think 9 of us made 1,200 bars over a 6 or 7 hour period. Now in a day, we make 1.5 million. But that's where it starts. It starts with the willingness to persist long after it's boring. It starts with the ability to focus on your end customer long after you're exhausted. It starts with the ability to think about those people that you really want to serve when you're scared and have no idea how you're going to pull it off. But you chose to believe that you could do it. You chose to believe that. And because you chose to believe that, you were able to achieve excellence.
Now I've got a special bonus clip that I think you're going to enjoy. But before that, it's time for the question of the day. I want to know, what was your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week? When you watch a video and you just get motivated, the sign says you have a 35% chance of actually following through. That's not good enough, Believe Nation. We got to take action. But when you get motivated and then you create a specific plan of action for when and how you're going to do it, your number jumps from 35% to 91% chance of following through. And when you commit to somebody else, like posting down here in the comments below, that number jumps to 95%. I want to know your single biggest takeaway from this video and your plan of action for the next week. Put it down in the comments below so you can follow through and I can celebrate you.
Going out and doing the hard things to see how much of your potential you can actuate, pursuing greatness in a very specific direction is, I believe, the only thing that will make people happy. So when I look at depression, anxiety, all on the rise, all rampant, people feeling lost, not knowing what they want to do, where they want to be, the answer is decide you're going to be extraordinary at something because it gives you more energy than it takes. And there's a whole process, I'm not going to go into it now. But get that thing in your life and then go after it with everything you have, with total disregard for balance. That you pour yourself into it in a way, you give yourself over to it. And I think we have one more bifurcation. You've got the family, which provides a similar sense of deep fulfillment, and I think that's a perfully valid choice. And if you don't hear the incongruous nature with what I'm saying, I'm not saying it very well. But those are the two paths that I see humans go on. People that are parents, the kid was born, changed my life, perspective, totally done, right? Like you know the talk and how it feels. And then on this side, you've got an equal lack of balance, all in, totally committed, do or die, I would give myself over to this thing that I'm building, right? And that's where I'm at. I've chosen not to have kids, it's not the path I'm on. But I've given myself over in a similar way and I get a similar sense of deep fulfillment.
If you want 10 more amazing rules from Tom Bilyeu, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
People have got to reject this notion that they have to be protected from the outside and putting all their time and energy into that. Be the change you want to see in the world. If you want to see people strong enough to withhold a better weight,